Everybody, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case over on Rumble. Of course, I do see the chat is working. About 100 people waiting for it, so obviously it's going to be live. We've got quite a few things to cover today. By the way, first, I would like to make a little announcement. Tomorrow, I probably will not be doing the normal live stream. I've actually got a person from the Daily Caller, one of the writers for a new documentary that they've released the trailer of. And I reviewed that, I screened it, and so I'm probably going to have one of the writers aboard, and that'll be the show, actually. So I'll still go live, but it won't be the normal news format or something like that. Enjoyable, good documentary. It's about J6 and things attendant to it, so thankfully you can talk about that now on YouTube. You used to be banned if you spoke ill of the 2020 election and said that there were any problems whatsoever. The same voter fraud and ballot problems that are literally in every election in the United States. So yeah, I'll probably be doing that instead. We've got to talk about DignifAI, or DignifAI, not really. A 4chan-led campaign to put clothes on thoughts is just another way trolls are using AI to humiliate women. Yes, 4chan is now humiliating women by putting them in more clothing somehow. And there's a 4chan chuds used AI to clothe her. She fought back. She didn't really, but we'll be getting into that article. It's the most crazy article I've ever seen. It's from the Rolling Stone, so no surprise there. Let me talk about that. The transgender daycare worker who is not going to go to prison and might not even be on the sex offender registry after molesting a baby. That's in Kentucky, surprisingly, of all states. Like if it was in California or something, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's a par for the course, wokeness and shit. Kentucky. We'll also be talking about the surname there because it's awfully fitting for that. Not a fun story, but one that definitely needs to be mentioned. Maria Childers, by the way. The Hoge twins posting here. Yes, Tucker Carlson is what's called a useful idiot. He is like a puppy dog, says Hillary Clinton, who is a long-term serf of China and a long-term associate of globalists all around the world. So she's bitching about Tucker Carlson's interview of Vladimir Putin, despite the fact that she hasn't seen it yet because it's not out yet. This was happening the other day. Next, we've got the exoskeleton body armor. They have developed something called XOM exoskeleton, and it looks cool as fuck. It's sort of like a Space Troopers or something like that. I want one. Yeah, you hook me up with this goddamn company. Can I get an armored suit with an exoskeleton rifle armor? Because that looks fucking great. I want one. We've got the ongoing SCOTUS case with regards to Trump's ballot access. They're hearing oral arguments as we speak, actually. Been live updating that for hours, and we'll be talking about that. And then also, South Carolina seeks to restart executions with electric chair and firing squad, the latter of which is, I don't know, I'd prefer to be shot in the heart than executed by electric chair. Says painless death not required. South Carolina claims instantaneous or painless deaths are not mandated. Well, there are certain constitutional provisions that might come into play there. We'll, again, see how the court system ends up ruling. Inevitably, it will happen. Wilden, have you thought about uploading your videos to X? Also, if you need help getting a new mic and audio setup, I'm happy to help. Yes, you can always DM me on Twitter with regards to that. Also a new camera setup potentially, because while this camera is fairly good, I kind of want to upgrade my setup and go a little bit more semi-pro. And definitely like this microphone, it's a Yeti Blue, so it's fairly good, but it's a USB mic. So it's good by the standards of people that aren't making professional style content. I just want to hook up a camera and get something like really good lighting, etc. I can do that myself, the lighting. And get something a little bit more sophisticated. Because at this point, I got 500,000 people following me on YouTube. I got over 150,000 people following me on Rumble, on Twitter, almost that on BitChute. I should probably upgrade my setup some. Andrew Saber, greetings from Nebraska Sticks. Kathy Griffin was complaining a few days ago that a show was doing in Omaha was selling poorly. The venue she was in seats 2,500. Barry Manilow filled a 17,000 arena. Yeah, no, Kathy Griffin bombed. Nobody wanted to go and see her because it was literally just a litany of Trump jokes they can find on Google. No, really? Cultivated mind. Good morning, clanking morning. The mushrooms are thriving today in Houston. Had my cordyceps and coffee, and now I'm flying high. Always free shipping and 10% off with code CLANK at www.cultivated-mind.com. You can get some mushrooms. Endless Vertigo for a better camera. Thank you. Yeah, no, I want to get something a little bit more sophisticated. It doesn't need to be like a Timcast setup, but I would like to upgrade really at this point. It's been a few years since I sort of got this set up, and it works all right for my purposes generally, but I would like it to be better. Joker 80808, better sci-fi TV show, Farscape or Star Trek TNG? I liked Farscape. I thought that Farscape was pretty cool. Christian Workman. What do you think of the possibility of leftist violence if Trump is reelected? You know, the accelerationist left is chomping at the bit. They definitely will. They will riot. They will burn down Wendy's and shoot people and do what leftoids do best, which is be violent thugs. Mad Phase, did you hear about Hawaii Supreme Court basically telling SCOTUS, Second Amendment, and Bruin to fuck itself? Yeah, I'm gonna get in some trouble on that one, I think. Harrison Bergeron, you are correct. Babylon 5, at least for the first few seasons, was spectacular. Later on, and with the movie that caps off the end, I don't know. They left a lot of stones unturned in that one. I like the first few seasons, though, with Sinclair and then Sheridan. I liked those ones. That was the first 4, I think. I liked Babylon 5. Anyway, we're going to go to the first news story. 4chan chuds used AI to clothe her. She fought back. She's brave and stunning because she bitched about this actually online. As an adult content creator with a large following on the internet, Isla David, who I've never heard of, has dealt with trolls before. Usually, her work combating online bad actors involves her trying to take down photos of herself that have been posted elsewhere without her permission. Such as a photo for an ad for horny MILFs in your area. Now, keep in mind, this is a Legacy Media article. I'm just reading it verbatim. That she's been trying to get removed for years. You should probably stop bothering. But she's also used to trolls editing her image without her consent. They're either subtracting clothes, editing my waist, or editing the size of my chest and hips, she tells Rolling Stone. Just generally treating me like a human Play-Doh for them to mash around. Well, you're posting excessive cleavage photos and shit on the internet. Some things like that might actually happen at some point. On February 2nd, however, David found herself in a somewhat unusual position. A friend informed her that one of her photos, a sultry image of her sipping a bottle of Highland Park Scotch while clad in a white button-down, which she'd posted on the subreddit r whiskey porn in 2021, had been going viral on what she refers to as the scuzzier corners of the internet. Now, you fucker, you posted this on Reddit. You're already on one of the scuzzy corners of the internet, such as 4chan. Woo. 4chan getting its street cred yet again. The image has been edited not to remove her clothes, but to add them. The photo has been manipulated with AI, David says, to make her look like some strange parody of a woman. Her waist and thighs had been edited to look smaller, but her head had been edited to nearly twice its size. I have not seen the image, so I don't know that that's actually true. What's more, the person who edited it had clothed her in a demure white A-line dress and surrounded her with 3 adorable children, all of the same approximate stature and wearing similarly beatific white garments. Far-right influencer Ian Miles Cheong had tweeted it with the caption, "When given pictures of thirst traps, AI imagines what could have been if they had been raised by strong fathers," a post that had racked up 7 million views. Congratulations, Ian, by the way. So to get this straight, women online have bitched now for a couple of years about being nudified and stuff like that. So people took their image and they made them naked or scantily clad or something. Now you've got people that are bitching about them having scantily clad, like lewd images, or flirty images, pinup shit, and having more clothes on. Well, I mean, what the fuck are you talking about? You're just trying to find something to bitch about at some point. And it's funny. I remember when 4chan was labeled a den of far-left porn, and including the illicit kind, years ago. Like even Bill O'Reilly was dogpiling 4chan. They managed to survive it. And now all of a sudden you have the Deus Volt AI app, basically, clothing people that are putting lewd images out online, like maybe not naked, but lewd. and they're still bitching about it. 4chan literally can't stop fucking winning. There is no stopping us. We are legion, and not in the cringy leftoid sense that Anonymous devolved into, supposedly. Holy shit. I just found it funny because supposedly 4chan is, basically the nexus of porn and shit like that, and hentai and stuff like that. But then you've got this going on. How funny that is. Let's see. We've got some subjects here, I believe. Christian Workman, did you play Medal of Honor Frontline? It is my favorite game of all time, and I know the game like the back of my hand and still have my original copy. Yeah, I played many happy hours killing Nazis in Frontline. I also liked Rising Sun. It wasn't quite as polished, but it was still enjoyable. It was still a good game. Great soundtrack. Cheese sticks. What can we Alabama chuds do to prevent the Democrats taking control of the new court-ordered BIPOC gerrymandered district in Alabama? Turn out and vote. More importantly, go knock on doors and shit. Miku Huntu 4X bots. SCOTUS update. Alito taking the Dem lawyer to school this hearing. Even KBG is skeptical of this charade, thinking 7+ ruling in Trump's favor. We will talk about that. I happen to agree with you. They're going to rule in Trump's favor. My hope is that it's narrowly. We'll get into why. 1EG, Nikki Haley said her loss to literally nobody was a scam and that Trump rigged it. No media outlet is calling her an election denier. She's sour grape. She's the so-called right-wing Hillary Clinton. Let's see. Sigil Stone, editing clothes onto the whores? Oy vey, how anti-Semitic. And a follow-up, henty, not hente, you uncultured swine. Yeah, I don't masturbate to cartoons. I've never found the need to do so. I don't claim to understand people who do. Should it be legal? Yeah, okay. You watch your anime porn, your tentacle shit or whatever it is. It's perfectly fine. But no. Sparky, greetings, fearless leader. Greetings to you. Mike the Wapo, nobody seems to read the reasons why Dana White and Donald Trump gave for supporting Bud Light. Yeah, I understand that it's political strategy, and I pointed that out this morning. I understand the underlying basis of why that would happen. I just think that it's not necessarily a good look. So I'm going to criticize Trump. I'm fully honest here. I give my own goddamn opinions. I am absolutely on the Trump train. I'll vote for him if he goddamn dies. But it was a bad look. It was a bad strategic call overall, in my personal opinion. Next news story, unfortunately, is not so funny as 4chan trolls non-nudifying, e-thoughts or whatever. Exclusive, transgender daycare worker avoids prison after sexually abusing a baby during a diaper change. It gets worse and worse. When I'm reading through this, I'm like, okay, at first I thought it was in California or something. It's in fucking Kentucky. A trans-identified male in Kentucky has reached a plea deal after being charged with sexually abusing a baby and will avoid prison so long as he meets certain conditions. Conditions that any person would be able to meet, by the way. The threshold is very, very low in this case. Maria Childers. Yes, you heard that right. The surname of the baby molester is Childers. I find this ironic. A former daycare worker hired a prominent trans activist lawyer to represent him in the sickening case. And it is a him. As previously reported by Redux, Childers was arrested in February of 2023 after the Department of Community-Based Services received an anonymous tip detailing an alleged incident of abuse that had occurred in November of 2022 at Explore Learning Academy. The tip, reportedly written by one of Childers' co-workers, accused him of making inappropriate comments towards an infant, which I will not even repeat on here because I'll probably get banned if I do, while changing the child's diaper and touching the baby inappropriately. Redux has now obtained court records detailing the full complaint against Childers, which showed that he was accused of both physical and sexual abuse while employed at the daycare. Why did you not fire this fucker upon the first complaint? They should probably be held liable too. Again, I can't get into the details of the allegation because, again, probably the YouTube algorithm, at the very least, they're going to demote, the fucking stream. They might even ban me for bringing it up, for being transphobic, not for talking about child abuse, because they have no problem with that. Just look up Elsagate if you don't believe me. He had been accused by other coworkers of leaving children in high chairs for hours without care. So you've got neglect, not just alleged sexual abuse. and originally claimed he had not changed the infant's diaper, but then admitted having done so after an officer presented him with evidence in the form of a text he had sent to the daycare's director confirming the baby's diaper had been changed. He then tried to deny he had ever said anything inappropriate, but admitted he often said things that were taken out of context. Okay, I have a weird sense of humor. I'm not the sort of person you want to bring to a funeral or to a church service, certainly, or anything like that. There are certain things you don't fucking joke about, which is, again, link in the description. If you want to read what he actually allegedly said himself, you can go ahead and read it. If you're bulimic, you might not want to. He was booked in on several significant accounts. First-degree sexual abuse of a victim under 12, and 3 counts of first-degree criminal abuse of a child under 12. He was then booked at McCracken County Jail, which is fine. Okay, well, you're going away for a good long time. You're not going to be changing anyone's diapers, and everything's perfectly fine. The problem is that after some negotiation with the court, this is fucking batshit. After some negotiation with the court, the motion was ultimately approved. Childer's bond was reduced from $100,000 to $5,000 surety. The bond conditions included no contact with children and to remain away from the daycare where he had been employed. Childers was released from custody in January of 24. On January 29th, Childers struck an apparent deal with prosecutors. In exchange for a guilty plea, his charge of first-degree sexual abuse was amended to Class A misdemeanor sexual misconduct, and the remaining abuse charges were dropped. So, no jail time whatsoever. Judge Joseph Rourke handed Childers a 12-month penalty, but withheld sentencing and imposed a conditional discharge for 6 months. Basically, all this dude has to do is have enough restraint not to diddle a toddler for 6 months. You don't even appear on the sex offenders registry. You molested a baby in front of one of your goddamn coworkers after there were apparently multiple allegations of other impropriety, not even on the goddamn registry. Dude, there are 16-year-olds out there who have gone to prison for simply taking lewd selfies of themselves and they get leaked online, which, by the way, is another thing that I don't approve of. I think they're the victim in that case. What the fuck are we even? This is Kentucky. This is not California. It's not New York. It's not Maryland or Delaware. You know, Rehoboth Beach, Biden's hometown. They definitely, they don't care about impropriety there, including incest, which is why he looks like the Deliverance Banjo Kid. This is Kentucky that we're talking about. You're saying that you can't even get like any jail time and only a $5,000. Basically, you pay $5,000, and after 6 months, if you go diddle a kid, you've got no problem. And this person can change his name and everything else. Won't be on a registry. Won't even necessarily have actually a criminal background at all that can be background checked. He could end up working at another daycare 6 months from now. And there's nothing that we can do about it. This is retarded. This literally makes no goddamn sense whatsoever. I was reading this article and like at first I find that it's not a blue state, it's Kentucky. And I'm like, oh, that's confusing. And then I figured when I read through it, I'm like, okay, there must be some extenuating factor like they lack the evidence or something like that. There was some reason why they dropped those other charges. I can't find a reason. It's just a sweetheart deal. And I have a feeling that the prosecutor there is like, well, this individual identifies as trans. This will blow up and become a major national news story if we prosecute him too hard, so we better let him off. At this point, it's basically identity politics are informing the justice system, and that's not the way it's supposed to work. Have you ever heard the term justice is supposed to be blind? It's supposed to be blind, but it's not supposed to be deaf and dumb at the same goddamn time. Retarded. Is the prosecutor a pervert? Like Vaush and some of these other people? Who will fucking know? And they'll seal the case too, probably afterwards. Rocky, James O'Keefe just exposed migrant housing in Arizona. I will have to watch that. Send that to me on Twitter if you can by DM. Sparky, Nikki Haley is a screeching hag. Yeah, she always has been. Fetterman's ghost. Trump's been told by Shane Gillis. Joker 80808. The people who bitched about Tucker and Putin forgot about Newsom and Xi, which was a few months ago. Yeah, that was perfectly fine. When the premier of China shows up to California and gets a king's welcome and Gavin Newsom's practically guzzling on his cock juice, that's perfectly fine. But how dare Tucker Carlson do journalism? Drennan. So, Sticks, when are you going to edit the Voyage manuscript? But seriously, what are your thoughts on it? It appears to be a combination bric-a-brac similar to the Petit Albert with herbal and astrological lore. It is a grimoire. It is definitely a spell book, but a spell book in the original sense, not like black magic or something. There's probably alchemy in it too. It's evident from the illustrations more than from the text itself. Clem Simple, when do you think Trump will announce his VP pick? After South Carolina. He wants everyone out of the field before he truly pivots, which is a good idea. The bonus holes, banned on X. They are trying to coerce us into self-deleting multiple tweets. Apparently, Elon's regime doesn't like our opinion on Trayvon Martin or our opinion on how Geppetto-philes should be punished. Yeah, no, and keep in mind that Twitter has markedly improved since the last regime. John Hendy, are you familiar with Pierre Poilievre? If he becomes PM of Canada, I think things could potentially become much better up there. I am familiar with him, yes. He's the leader of the more conservative front, right? The Nationalist Party. Christian Workman, I don't often super chat, but today I'm going to. I speak to leftoid accelerationists often, rather sobering and disturbing. Well, yeah, I mean, to be far leftoid, you have to be a little mentally disturbed, so. Doc Holliday, in 1979, Mike Wallace interviewed the Ayatollah Khomeini while Iran was holding American hostages. None lost our minds and called him a traitor. Yeah, I mean, get it from the horse's mouth. Ramon C. GTC, bring back the wood chipper to Kentucky. That's the funny thing. Like, on my first read-through, I figured, okay, it's a Californian story or something like that. I can expect in San Francisco court. Okay, it makes sense. Fucking Kentucky, the home of Rand Paul. I guess this judge is more of a Mitch McConnell fan. MF Damien. I live right next to Paducah, Kentucky. Leadership across the town is blue, though the area itself is fairly red. It's wild that thing wasn't punished. Yeah, I mean, the punishment will be eternal afterwards because once your name is out there in the media and you're known to be a toddler fiddler, a toddler tickler, or something like that, it's going to be hard to get a job. But unfortunately, because of today's id poll, it might be hard to prevent this pervert from getting a job. So, the Joker, Vouch is such a silly goofball. Doc Holliday, please don't talk about Nikki Haley's crotch today. Do you think that she's waxed off, shaved a bit like a landing strip, or whether she just keeps it hairy like a prairie? Yeah, think about Nikki Haley's vagina. Slawbar, Idi Amin, anyone? Back in the day, 1970s, 2020, interviewed. Connor Vasile. Hi, Sticks. Your videos inspired me to write a book on America's crime crisis. Launched The State Knows Best. I'd love to send you a copy. Again, DM me on Twitter. We can get that working. Generalissimo Liberty. Nikki got lapped by the invisible man in Nevada. Lol. Yeah, now she's going to lose by 20, 25 points in her own home state. So that's the end of her career, thank God. Rocky sent DM of James O'Keefe. User Rocky Mountain Reaper. Excellent, thank you. Varen Bon Blair, morning Sticks, fasting all day because the bison biltong is arriving and I can't wait to recycle it into poo, then permeate the byproduct to the chagrin of my roommates. You will not lament having bought the bison biltong. It is delicious. There was a little bit more left over that I had earlier. Not much though. It doesn't last long. Sigil stone, hen tie, like the thing you wear around your neck to a meeting. I don't wear a tie, never have. Russ87, have a vid of Gavin Newsom leaked Zoom call where he saw a dine and dash happen and told the worker why she didn't deal with it. She told him it's because of him, so he demands her manager. Karen Nimby. I did see that. I thought that was funny. Sigilstone, the fact a DA would even offer a plea deal to such a disgusting creature is vile. That a judge would accept it is beyond belief. The courts are so far gone, it's incredible for the wrong reasons. Plea deals are the norm. But generally speaking, on that kind of crime, you're going to get at least some fucking prison time. But apparently, that's no longer a thing. 6 months, basically suspended sentence. Just keep away from the kids for 6 months. If you can keep it in your pants, then you can go and dick toddlers afterwards or something like that. Sigilstone. I get opinions here that can't be said in a BitChute video, let alone YouTube. The civil rights regime must fall. And a follow-up, I bet Nikki has a Hitler stash down there and Sieg Heils it. I see King of Biltong is here, which means it's time for a shout-out. We've got links in the description to 2 merch pages. Pumpkin Fire Crafts, that's an eBay store. You can get amulets, that's what I'll call them. You can get belt chains, you can get keychains, you can get bookmarks. And also landofbiltong.com, promo code STICKS, of course, as usual. And you can get some Sticks Hexenhammer merch there, as well as really, really great meat. I had it for lunch. Well, I've had it for lunch pretty much every day for weeks, so he sets me up. There's still some Angus in there. I got to polish that off. Gonna be great. You need I'm going to be going out charcoaling later, so you need some protein because I'm going to be out there tending the fire. And yeah, it's warmer today, but that's by Vermont standards, so it doesn't really count. Sir Link, I know leftoids have taken claim of Harry Potter, but back when it came out, were you a fan because of the spellcraft and potion stuff? I loved Harry Potter as a franchise. Didn't like the movies. I like the books, and I like the card game, actually. The trading card game never really got off the ground fully like with Pokemon, but it was good. It was fairly nice. Sparky, too much corporate consolidation is the problem with Bud Light. InBev, which owns Bud Light, has bought up many notable brands, plus regional and small breweries. Balkanize InBev, hashtag war on small businesses. Yeah, I agree. John Hendy, how old did your longest lived cat live to be and what was his or her name? My family sadly lost our 14-year-old Labrador named Happy this week. My condolences. Gumby, which was one of my childhood cats, I think he lived to be about 20, actually. Yeah, he was old as fuck, fucking crippled up and everything. He was happy towards the end, though. He just died in his sleep, Same with Widget, and then I think Button had to be put down. She had a lung problem and a heart problem. She was in pain, so she had to be euthanized. Calvin was euthanized. He had seizures, and there was something seriously wrong with him. Merlin sneezed himself to death. Amber lived to be so old that she stunk like a goddamn skunk, but she died happily out in the garden, just laid down and died. Cleopatra, she had a stroke or something like that, and it was really sad. She was sort of my cat and died while I was petting her, actually. So, yeah. Christian Workman, your thoughts on that pervert Shane Dawson buying bullies through surrogacy? Also, the Timcast with you was awesome. Watch the whole thing. Thank you. I don't know anything about Shane Dawson or anything about buying boys through surrogacy. I don't know. Spike 11117. Come on, he needs at least 6 months in jailing to let nature take its course. Yeah, it's like even if you're a first-time offender, when it's alleged that you're doing baby rape or something like that, don't you think that you've got corroboration, you had the evidence to jail him. Well, if you got that much evidence, then why offer that level of a sweetheart deal? At the very least, can you fucking keep him in jail for a while? Let the other inmates handle it. No more problems. Sir Link, and on a serious note, if Barrett caves to the mob and sides with the usual suspects and rules Trump can be removed, what are the ramifications? That will not happen. The ramifications would be absolute chaos, but we're not going to see that. Mike from St. Pete, any particular reason they're called heirloom seeds? Any recommendations? Yeah, you can get Heritage Heirloom, can send you a whole bucket full of them, everything. You can also use Johnny seeds. They're called heirloom because they're non-GMO, they're old style. So you can actually collect the seeds from them. They won't become sterile in the next generation. They're typically organically grown, or mostly. My garden is organic. Holden Sneedmeyer, Colonel Douglas McGregor, who is in the Trump administration, is the only patriot telling the truth about Ukraine. Generalissimo Liberty, in the city, how would we dispose of a dead pet? Immolation, I guess. Or, go out to the countryside and use a shovel. Pumpkin Fire Crafts, I will go through and rename them amulets later today for you, Sticks. Excellent. That's what I'm talking about. Next news story, Hillary Clinton bitching about Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is what's called a useful idiot. He's like a puppy dog. So like you with China. You remember the we came, we saw, he died thing with Hillary Clinton? Yeah, Hillary Clinton is the queen of bad takes at this point. For years now, she never fully got over her election loss to Trump. She never fully understood, I think, that she did lose and thought of herself sort of as a president in exile. And so she blamed everyone around her, including the DNC, for her loss. The pink hat wearers, the DNC, the DCCC, I think she implicated them. She talked about her staff, implicated the Democratic Party at large. I didn't get enough surrogacy, enough support. I had to go fundraise while Trump's traipsing around because he's self-funded and shit like that. And it was always very, very funny. Since that point, her mind has been scrambled. And so all of her takes are cold takes. None of them really, really make sense. She's complaining about an interview that hasn't even dropped yet. We don't even know what's in the goddamn interview. It could be Tucker Carlson crucifying Vladimir Putin. Say, oh, why is your military a joke? Why are you failing? Vladimir, I don't think that that's what it's going to be, but it could be. They're prejudging it without any clue what's even in the goddamn interview. It's like, oh my God, well, FedEx is arriving. It looks like somebody sent me a package. That's the most likely outcome. So it looks like it's going to be another good day. Oh, and they're backing in too. That means probably something big. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, my day just got better. Assuming it's for me. If it's for somebody else, it'd be a letdown. Lev Polyakov, I don't mind Tucker interviewing Putin, but sucks that the anti-current thing side only covers what Putin tells the West, while inside Russia itself, the messages are explicitly Russian empire expansion. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a fan of Russian imperialism, which is what we're seeing. And I know the East blockers will disagree and say, well, it's a reaction to NATO expansionism. Okay. NATO expansionism among nations that are already Western and Western aligned is not imperialism. It's joining a goddamn alliance. Russia is engaged in imperialism right now. That does not mean that Putin, number one, should not be interviewed. Number two is Satan incarnate. And number three, that Zelensky by default becomes a saint or something like that. So yeah, I'll be watching his fucking interview, regardless of what Hillary Clinton says. You know, Hillary, there are a lot of people out there that probably would have ignored it if you hadn't condemned it. Sigil Stone, did you see Biden the other day said he discussed Jan 6 with a guy that died in 2017? Yeah, with the dead German leader there. He also said recently that he talked to someone that died in the early 2000s, actually late 90s, I believe. That was the Mitterrand, the former president of France. Yeah, he claimed that he had talked to him, you know. Basically, I think he's conducting seances at this point. Yes, Joe Biden, the necromancer. Joe Biden, the dark sorcerer. Again, Dark Brandon turns out to be real. He's got, like, you know, crystals filled with demons and shit like that in his bedroom. What the fuck books have you been reading lately? You know, Trump, he got in trouble for supposedly reading Hitler speeches at one point. I guess Joe Biden's got the Necronomicon. Mr. Wonderful. Putin is the most articulate and intelligent world leader as we speak. Javier Malay ringing a bell here. Also Narendra Modi. His morality is for others to judge. Michael Cricklow, is it far-fetched to think that Tim Scott rushed to get engaged because he's been offered the VP slot? That is possible. I'm sure he's on the short list. He was name-dropped by Trump a couple days ago. Sparky, all the bad things Putin's alleged to have done over the last 20 years are lies or false flags carried out by the CIA, other Five Eyes agencies, and their associates. He literally banned memes about him. He is an authoritarian, and I do not respect authoritarianism. I am not a Putin fan. That being said, when you compare him to Zelensky, it's pretty much even Stevens now, isn't it? Influence over religion, shutting down journos and broadcasters, jailing political opposition, drafting people. I don't really see the difference, except that one of those countries plays more nice with the West right now. There is no difference. Miku Huntu 4X Bot. SCOTUS Update 2, KBJ, Stonewall Jackson right now. Yeah, Katanji will probably vote against Trump. It might be an 8-1 decision. That'd be funny. Mopey Hornet, Tucker should interview Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, Gavin met with him. Nobody had a problem with that. Sigil Stone, delivery doesn't back up for large packages. It's because they need to turn around and aren't allowed to use reverse before driving a certain amount forward, so they don't back out into busy roads. On this road, it's definitely not busy, so... Moonman Rants for the Vouch video. Always knew that dude was a creep. Yeah, he really stepped in it. You can watch one of my new tech exclusives on BitChute or Rumble today if you want to see my thoughts on Vouch's porn incident, his horse porn incident. West Verde, Clank, I, for one, welcome the cyberpunk future of power armor versus drone swarms. We'll be talking about the XOM armor in a minute. King of Biltong, good morning from Antons in Roanoke, Texas. Free shipping for your Biltong using code STICKS on www.landofbiltong.com and www.antonsusa.com. New batch of bison up today. Will be ready for shipping Tuesday. Hashtag Clank Nation. I can't wait for more of that bison because I ate a whole pound of it. The bison, the cabanasi, and well, I mean, it's all good. Everything that you sell is good. But I mean, I just really like buffalo meat. The cabanasi, it's got a really nice taste to it. It's pork. It's I don't know exactly how that one's made, but it's got a little bit of a smoky flavor, a little bit salty. It's pure protein basically. This bulletproof body armor exoskeleton innovation can take rounds from an AK-47. It looks like a superhero suit, yet the exoskeleton has serious stopping power from taking fire. Now, here's the good and the bad. The good is that the suit is designed in such a way that you can carry multiple layers of rifle armor over your body, weighing a significant amount of weight, by the way. But it's got an exoskeleton inside that shifts the weight, so you're not carrying it all up here. And so it allows you to carry more armor while being capable of actually moving around, actually walking, standing up, because a human can only carry so much weight. And even a brawny person, like, they're going to have their limits. Like, imagine putting the golden one in rifle armor. Okay. After a certain number of panels, you're a little bit weighed down. Your agility has decreased considerably. And then you get somebody like more normal build like myself, or even in my case, a little bit on the skinny side. Yeah, I mean, I could wear rifle armor, but it's going to limit my mobility some. The advantage of this particular armor development is that it's on effectively a scaffold, titanium scaffold, and it shifts the weight down towards the feet, making it easier to move around. So again, it shifts, it redistributes the weight. The bad is that it's just standard rifle armor. AK-40, this article says, well, it can stop an AK-47 round. Okay, well, level 4 rifle armor generally does that. The difference is that you have a platform on which you can have considerably more coverage by that armor and still move. I would love one of these suits. Somebody get in touch with the goddamn company. You get one hell of a shout out. I can make a couple of videos in this shit. Even take it outside and put it next to the tree and do some target practice with the pistols and show people what it can do. I'd like to get that armored exoskeleton. And keep in mind, this sort of thing is barely in development. Like with the Iron Man suit, that was a few years ago. With this, with the XOM armor and stuff like that, body armor really is heating up. There's also another, it's not experimental, but it's a new prototyped armor. I can't remember the manufacturer. It's a vest, and it's supposedly level 5. Like, it can actually take a round from a 308, and it's based on the Dragon scale design that was nixed by the U.S. military, actually, back under the Bush administration. You remember Dragon scale armor? And it was made of these little discs that overlapped, like scales. And the idea was, well, this gives you more flexible coverage, better coverage than the plate armor that's typically used. And they bounced it because of certain design flaws that really they were nitpicking over. It didn't really make much sense at the time. And I remember Steve and MRE, no, not Steve, Demolition Ranch. Sorry, I'm getting MREs and guns mixed up because they're both great. He tested one. He got one of the old sets of armor. And indeed, it's rifle safe. It did work. It tends to crumble, but I mean, it's a 20-year-old armored suit. So just think, this is just the dawn of this kind of armor that I have a feeling is going to become more common, because it turns the person into effectively a moving ACP. You're not going to be able to take a 50 cal, but the standard munitions that are used in small arms on the battlefield, you'll be able to take several rounds to any of these components, and you'll be safe. You'll be able to live. Sort of the idea is to not die. Body armor is cool. I've got a bulletproof vest in there. That's a level 3+, I think. I'd like to get rifle armor. I probably should. I should probably get a rifle first, though. Tasmanon, I'm late. Did the Pootie Poo interview drop yet? No, I don't believe that is available yet. Sparky, Russia already has more territory than they know what to do with. Look at a map. Russian imperialism is a myth. False. Russia has a lot of land that they can't do much with except extract resources. They wanted more warm water portage and access to that goddamn energy there. Matt Spoon. Putin is more like the czars. Russia is monarchy. Here's the thing. The Soviet Union was nothing more than a continuation of the Russian Empire, only with a different economic system. That's something you won't learn in school. What else changed? It expanded a little bit, and they adopted communism. Well, Stalinism. What's the difference? It's the same territory. Tony Quellhorst. Biden resembles the Crypt Keeper more than anything else. True. Wicked Needle sent $5. Yes, Wicked Needle embroidery, of course. That's where this hat comes from. We're working on some stuff. Not you again. Sticks, what are your thoughts on Houston Wade? Never heard of Houston Wade. Mr. Wonderful. Putin holds annual press Q&As with journalists from around the world that aren't pre-screened that go for 4+ hours. Imagine Biden taking questions for 4 hours. Yeah, remember when Biden was in Russia over there and Biden wouldn't take the questions and Putin basically held a monologue, completely showed him up? John Hendy. It annoys me that some believe that Russia is seen as a right-wing paradise when there are many better countries, such as Georgia, Czechia, the Czech Republic is what I'm going to call it, because I remember that as a kid. Switzerland, etc. Yeah. Lev Polyakov. By the way, at least right now, Russia is not scared of the U.S. and considers the West to be a pushover. Russia is very scared of China, thus respects it. Yeah, Russia and China are frenemies, and most people don't understand that geopolitically either. I remember when the Chinese snubbed Russia on the price of oil or gas, rather, in their pipeline that they were willing to buy it for, and Putin left Beijing early. And he was upset over that because he got screwed by the Chinese. Sparky, was cool that Tim Pool had a South African on his crew and so was familiar with biltong. Yeah, and meat everywhere. It's definitely a bit of a man cave up there. Taco Woman Sandy Ravage. Sticks, please give a shout out to my blackened death metal man Gnashing. We're playing this Saturday at the Skullbangers Ball at the Trax Bar in Long Beach, Missouri. Or Mississippi, I can't remember which one, with Wasted, Septarian, and Skulldozer. Good band names. Sounds like down my alley. Harrison C. sent $1.99. No comment, thank you. Vinny the D. Current level 4 can stop 30-06 AP rounds. Some are multi-hit, 3+. Yes, this supposedly is on that same order. And there are some armors that are supposedly at least a little bit more advanced, but I don't know. I watched Demolition, a few of these other channels, and it seems the jury's still out. But I want an armored exoskeleton. I want to look like a space marine. Wicked Needle. I am working on a big cartel shop to sell your hats. I'll show it to you this weekend and get it launched next week. Sounds good. We'll have to discuss this soon. Next news story. Right now, SCOTUS is deciding whether Donald Trump is eligible to be on the ballot in the 24 election, or rather whether the states are allowed to get rid of his eligibility. Of course, in Maine, you had the Secretary of State weighing in. She made the unilateral decision that Trump was guilty of insurrection. In Colorado, you had, of course, the court system doing the same thing. I have a feeling it will be a decision in Trump's favor. I think there's a very good chance. I can't imagine that they're going to say, yeah, indeed, a state has the unilateral right, absent a conviction, to prevent someone from running for office under the Insurrection Act. That would be, it's a stretch to think that they would accept that argument. Here's my point, though. I want them to rule more limitedly in favor of Donald Trump. Yes, as someone on the Trump train, I do not want them to accept the entire legal premise that's being put forth by the Trump campaign and his lawyers. Here's why. I don't have a problem with Trump. He did not foment insurrection. He did not tell people to riot. He did not do anything wrong. He did nothing illegal. But what about the next guy? Because I don't know who the next guy is going to be. Do I want some future president of the United States to actually foment an insurrection and tell people, gather around the White House, quick, we're not leaving. Yeah, get out your guillotines, get the pikes, boys. Come on in with your guns. And then it'll be like some neocon or neoliberal, and they overrun D.C., and you can't even do anything about it. So it needs to be a limited ruling. And here's how I would rule. If I run SCOTUS, I would say Insurrection Act's fine. I'm not even going to address it. I'm not going to talk about it at all, about the legality, whether it's contemporarily useful, whether the Insurrection Act would even fit with a president. You don't need to address those things. All you need to point out is that Donald Trump was never convicted of fomenting an insurrection. Ta-da! There you go. One-page decision. Not even a page. Donald Trump did not get found guilty of fomenting or encouraging an insurrection in a court of law or by Congress. He was acquitted by the U.S. Senate. Therefore, the insurrection section within the U.S. Constitution is invalid in this case. It means nothing because it's not applicable. There's your decision. That's what I would decide. I'm really, really hoping that they constrain themselves too. Because again, the alternative is, imagine you have a president that actually does do something like that and you can't even punish them or prevent them from returning to office. Like a literal tyrant, like a Napoleon moment. And not the cool Napoleon, but like the bloodthirsty Napoleon sort of thing. Based Normie, thanks for another great show. How do you feel about the reality of mass deportations if Trump becomes president and follows through on that promise? Best. Yeah, those people you can account for, you can mass deport. Like with 2016, I would point out that the idea of mass deporting literally everyone is an impossibility because you'd have to violate the Fourth Amendment to do it. You would literally have to go door to door to every property in the United States. Many of those properties contain firearms in order to conduct your searches and find everyone. It's an impossible task. The best thing we can do is fix the border, deport who we can, and deal with that fucking situation. BW, I know you said you didn't care, but how do you think immunity ruling will affect Trump? Will it keep him from continuing, or is this just going to delay more? It's just a delay. He doesn't have full immunity. Of course, a former president is capable of being prosecuted. It's just there's nothing to prosecute him for. This is a delay tactic by Trump's team, and it's working. So good on him. Drennan. Sticks, you should go to Sleazy P. Martini Bunker and live stream with him. I'd like to have him aboard my show again, too. In fact, I've got to message him back. We had talked some time ago. Sigilstone. Power armor has been around for quite some time, actually. The limiting factor is there's no power source portable enough that lasts long enough to make the technology viable on the battlefield. This one doesn't require power, is my understanding. It's just a well-balanced scaffold over which the rifle armor is mounted. So it's not power armor. It's more like in Fallout 4, this wouldn't be the T-60. This would be the Marine Recon armor, basically. Wasted Bonehead. Good morning from the grave. I brought Sigil, the bunny man, a carrot. Sigil, even if SCOTUS sides with Trump, well, if states are openly ignoring Bruin and Texas ignores the border ruling and the SCOTUS continues doing diddly-dick about it, they'll just ignore this too. It's more they are very, very slow. They will address the obvious unconstitutional nature of Hawaii's proposal and stuff, but it'll take a lot of time because this is the Supreme Court. It's just a thing. They like to be slow as fuck. Julia McKenzie sent $1.99. Thank you very much. No comment. And now, the final news story. South Carolina seeks to restart executions with the electric chair and firing squad. Says painless death is not required. By the way, the latter part is fundamentally true, and there's no such thing as a painless death. Not unless you get flash vaporized in a nuclear explosion. Then the nerve conduction velocity is lower than the rate at which your neurons have been vaporized, and you literally will just blink out of existence. In fact, the Church of Adam from Fallout has a point. You can't hope for a more painless death than getting flash vaporized like that. You're not going to feel any pain. Your nerves will be burned out into cinders before you could possibly feel anything. The nerves won't conduct jack shit because they'll be turned into a pile of chafed ashes too quickly. South Carolina claims instantaneous or painless deaths are not mandated. Lawyers for a group of South Carolina death row inmates who have run out of appeals argued to the state Supreme Court that two of the state's forms of execution, the old electric chair method and the new firing squad method, are cruel and unusual punishments, although the state claims that painless deaths are not mandated. I would much rather get shot than go into a gas chamber. I would much rather get electrocuted for several seconds. And again, your nerves at that point are being fried with electricity. You're not going to feel much of anything. I've got hit by lightning once. It's just complete numbing. You don't really feel anything. You just sort of black out. There's no pain or anything like that. You shock afterwards, but if you're shocking someone to death, then that's not going to happen. Much rather get that than a lethal injection. The methods that are considered more humane, so gas chamber and lethal injection, I think are the most cruel. I'd much rather, if I was on death row, I would choose the firing squad. I would just tell him, hit me in the heart instead of the head, because I'm phobic about the idea of, my part of my brain is dislodged from the rest, so I'm still alive for like a little bit of time, but all of my personality and memory is all fucking scrambled, and like I basically reduced to a grinning vegetable for several seconds. I think that'd be a fate worse than death, actually. I think that, I'd take the gas chamber over that. You look at the nitrogen execution that they just did. I think it's cruel and unusual. I'm wondering why they can't use carbon monoxide or dioxide. And the person just, they fall asleep, basically. I mean, we do that with animals. It's considered a less painful form of death to prevent them from feeling pain, cancer or something like that. I generally oppose the death penalty, though. I'll point that out. And I know, by the way, that a lot of people here will disagree with me with that. I don't think the state should be the arbiter of who lives and dies. I think that everyone should. I mean, if it's true capital crime, life imprisonment at the very least. By the way, I would point out to people who say, well, that costs a lot. Okay, having them on death row for 20 years with endless appeals is actually just about as expensive. So it literally makes no difference cost-wise. I think it should be reserved for a very small number of crimes. So serial killer, first-degree murder, premeditated and stuff, gang raping and stuff like that. Significant crimes with an actual victim, long-standing punishment is the only thing that you can do. I don't really believe in the death penalty. If anything, I think that we should take these people and put them in the Coliseum, and they can kill each other. BW, did you see Fallout show coming up? Not going to watch it, not interested. Harrison C, Commissioner of Hiana, same as Vegas in 17. Sus. Yeah, the endless appeals of the death penalty anyway make it no more cost effective than simply just throwing somebody in a cell and saying, okay, well, you're never getting out. Or maybe compassionate release when you're 80 years old and you're dying anyway and literally can't move. So, Sigil Stone, I'm eating tons of cruciferous vegetables and waterfowl. Gonna redig Bonehead's grave without a shovel. Cruciferous vegetables are good, by the way. Audit the states. Great level-headed points. Thank you very much. Sigil Stone, bring in execution by wood chipper. Throw them in head first. It's over fast, and you instantly turn a shit bag into fertilizer. Now, my idea is, and by the way, please send no more super chats because I'll go offline in a minute here because I got to make charcoal and shit. I want to do that while it's still fairly warm. My idea is a Coliseum system. So for people who have been found guilty of a capital offense, you put 8 people into a tiered tournament, and they go one-on-one according to weight or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Then choose their weapons, if applicable, or just beat each other to death. Then you've got 4. Then the winner's there. They get matched up again. Now you've got 2. And then they go into the final match, and then you've got 1. Well, you've just killed 7 criminals. You don't have to house them. You don't have to feed them. They did it voluntarily, so it doesn't violate the NAP. They thought maybe I get a chance to get out. Otherwise, I die. I'd rather be dead. At least the state's not executing me. I'm doing it voluntarily. I'm given the option of doing this. It shouldn't be mandatory, but it should be an option. You put them in a kind, and you televise this, by the way. You make a shit ton of money. People can come in person and see their brains everywhere and fucking people pulling each other's hearts out. Just fucking savage because they're savages. If they're a serial killer or something, nobody cares. And then only one person survives. That person goes free. Conditionally, of course. There would be conditions upon their release. It would depend on the crime. Of course, some total psychopath probably you don't offer this to. But for people who are expected to be in there for the rest of their lives, they have a chance. They'll clean out the prison population. Hell, they'll antagonize one another into fighting one another on the battlefield just because of the prisoner thing. Hey, pussy, I heard that you won't fight me to the death. What the fuck is wrong with you? By the way, we're doing it with chains and stuff like that. So you have 1/8 as many capital offenders that you have to house and clothe and feed and provide for. The prisons are cleaned out. And there'd be a lower tier, too, for people who aren't in there for capital crimes, but significant crimes. So you're in there for, I don't know, arbitrarily 5 to 20 years or something like that. Then you have a tournament that's more like UFC. And when you win that one, you get like a year shaved off your sentence. Instead, you don't get clemency, you get like a year shaved off. Again, if you get out early as a result of that, there are conditions that apply for the rest of what would be your sentence. Ankle monitor, probation officer and stuff. But you can go back out into society. I think that would be a good idea. Oh, the prisons would be nice and clear. No more overcrowding in the prisons. Prisoners have killed each other, so a lot of murderers are dead, a lot of rapists and stuff. What's not to like? And the state didn't violate anyone's NAP because they signed up willingly for it. I think this is a good idea. Bring back the Roman Colosseum. Yeah, maybe you could have side games too, like, hey, you get 5 years off your sentence if you can punch this orangutan to death or something. I wouldn't actually want to do that to an orangutan, but you get the idea. We're going to put you in here with a wolf, and it's a very, very hungry wolf. We didn't feed it for a couple days. And if you can snap its jaw backwards, dislocate it, and punch it in the throat till it fucking bleeds out and chokes on its own blood, well, it'll take a couple years off your sentence. And if you die or you get heinously injured, well, too bad. Well, we'll provide for your funeral. It's cheaper than keeping your ass in here in the prison. Sparky, denazify Israel. Sparky, denazify Ukraine. Build a better world with BRICS. I do not myself support BRICS. I think that India is eventually going to abandon them as well. Just saying. But yeah, no, why don't we have a fucking Coliseum? I'd watch that shit. I'd live stream my reaction to it. That would be the best stream ever. Yeah, here we see Mr. Mahoney, the mafia capo who assassinated 2 people, versus Ricky the rapist. Yeah, he raped a bunch of people. We're going to see who survives. See them punching each other to death. Now, I don't even need weapons. Just beat the shit out of each other, smash each other's heads into the wall and shit like that until someone's brains leak out through their empty eye sockets or something. You admit it. You would love to watch something like that. And it would serve a good role in society. Sigil Stone, take your idea, mix it with NASCAR, a true American pastime, and you have Death Race. Fantastic movies. Watch them. Seen them, actually. Great. I agree with you. Very good, Death Race. No, you could do that too. You have a closed course in the prison and the people just fucking splatter each other. They have their cars. Although that's not as cheap. It'd be cheaper to just give them baseball bats and let them go to combat. Let them break each other's bones. Yeah, again, for the lower level offenses, you have non-lethal combat. You can beat each other up. There's going to be blood everywhere. It's similar to UFC. It's prison fighting. For the upper level offenders, no, you die or you kill your opponent. One of your 8 opponents will survive, and they will get an ankle monitor and all that shit, and then they are free to go. Just please don't reoffend. If you do, then you have to kill 7 more people. Before you think, oh, they're going to create super criminals, there's no chance that a person's going to go through a tiered tournament like that multiple times and actually survive, so I wouldn't worry too much. The bonus holes. Coliseum should also be an integral part of our election process. Yeah, people should fight each other for elected office in some cases, too. I think I'd take Trump over Biden. I think he towers over him. Trump would basically push him and he'd just fall over and the fight would be over, I guess. Anyway, yeah, death race sort of stuff, Coliseum, whatever. We can talk about that. I promise you, if I was ever elected president, I would seriously propose such a thing. Hey, some people get out, they get restitution and shit, and the rest of them die. You can take their bodies, grind them up. It's soy and green. It's people. The hipsters out there will love it. Anyway, I think that I'm going to go offline now that I'm just ranting about Coliseums and stuff. I think the Coliseum, definitely that Marie Childers person should be in one of those. Instead of getting out a 6 months conditional release for diddling a baby in front of another person, by the way, while making sexual comments about it is, I don't know. I'm not a fan of that. Not my sort of thing. Ecstasy, that witch, caught the end of the stream today. No offense taken on saying no to a time shift adjustment. I'm a gardener too. Enjoy. Yes, I'll be making some charcoal in a little bit. But I'll go offline. Again, tomorrow, my stream will be different. I'll be live streaming, presumptively with a person from Daily Caller to discuss their new documentary. That'll have to get set up beforehand and everything. So I will not do the news stream actually tomorrow. I'll do my normal videos, but not the news stream. That's about all. Ooh, peace out.